Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to our February OpenNTF webinar. My name is Howard Greenberg, and along with Graham Akers and Jesse Gallagher and Roberto Bocadero from the OpenNTF board will be your host today. We're happy to announce John Curtis from HCL, who will be our speaker. He'll be speaking about some new features in Domino 12.01, particularly around the Domino query language and some new classes. So let me turn it over to Graham, who has a couple things you want to cover before we get into the presentation from John.
Thanks, Howard. So very quickly, a thank you to both HCL and Prominic for supporting OpenNTF and all that we do. Very appreciative of both HCL and Prominic supporting the community the way that they do. And again, just a quick thank you to them. Also want to raise up the fact that there is a notes contest going on right now. It was initiated by the folks at GroupWave in Belgium. And OpenNTF is happy to be a co-sponsor of the contest. Basically the contest is to take an existing notes application and modernize the UI. One of the biggest complaints that we all know in the community over the years is that notes is ugly, and as it turns out, you can do lots of good things with notes from a UI perspective, and it more comes down to the style and the skill of the developer at the time. So we want to take the new tools and the new capabilities and new design paradigms that come from outside the Domino world and apply them to notes applications. So the goal is to just bring some new ideas and some new creativity and share that with the community. All of the submissions are going to be reviewed by a group of HCL ambassadors and employees from a judging perspective, but the goal is to post all of the results up on OpenNTF and share that with the community for giving us all the ability to think about how we want to do UI in our applications. So not intended to be a huge amount of work, but again, to support the community and give us all the chance to see some new ways of building notes apps. The winners will be announced at Engage in May, and there's a link on the screen there that you can use to go sign up for the contest, download the template that we're all working with. And when I say we, I mean the community, not myself. And yeah, please share your ideas. Let's have some fun. And finally, as we remind everybody, this is our community. OpenNTF is a volunteer-driven organization, and we look for contributions from folks from the community. This is a pretty standard slide that we talk to every month, but I'm happy to say that the board right now is doing some work towards formalizing a couple of projects that we're going to ask for input from the community on. So rather than saying, hey, if you got a great idea, come and see us, we're going to stand up and say, we've got some great ideas and we'd like some people to participate. So you should be able to expect to see something in the next couple of weeks, let's say month, that we get organized and try and bring some folks from the community in to share some things and update some things that that we've had on OpenNTF for a while. So stay tuned on that one. And Howard, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Graham. And just wanted to highlight Engage 2022 is going to be in May. Theo had moved it from March to May to try to adapt to the bottom part of our COVID curve. So hopefully, as things are opening up now, I know in the US things are getting better. So hopefully in May will be a better time to travel. So that's the new date. And there's a picture of the town of Bruges there. Two pictures actually that I took when I was there quite a few years ago. It's a beautiful little town, a lot of fun, very old town. So if you can make it there, I highly suggest it. It's, as always, a great event. So our next webinar will be March 17th. We're going to have Heather, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right, Hottenstein, who now works for HCL. She worked for Business Partners for quite a while. and she's going to speak about the Domino admin tool. So we got something for your admins, but I think the developers would be interested too. It's kind of always good to be a little cross learning there. Okay, so before we go to John, let me, the first question everyone has, is this going to be recorded? Yes, we put all our webinars on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. You can get to that with the URL on the screen, or just go to the openntf.org/webinars page, which always lists all our past webinars and upcoming webinars. So questions should be asked in the questions pane in the GoToWebinar interface. There's a picture of that in the on the slide here. We will answer your questions at the end, and we will answer them verbally. So when you ask a question in the questions pane, don't expect John to stop presenting and start typing in an answer. He won't, but we, Graham and I, and Jesse and Roberto will ask John the questions at the end of the webinar. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, John. Let me move the screen over.
Actually, Howard, I'm just going to interject very quickly because we've already had a question, and there was a point on your questions panel about keeping the questions relevant to the presentation. The first question we've had come in is not relevant to the presentation. So a reminder to everybody, John can't answer future-looking questions about areas of Notes and Domino that he's not focused on. So keep the questions, please, focused on the topic.
Yes, thanks for pointing that out, Graham. And John can't tell you how much your renewal is going to cost for your Notes license next year. He's
I can look it up.
But he can, no, it's all right. They can ask their salesperson or their business partner. Okay, so let me turn it over to John. I'm going to make you the presenter.
Hopefully I can do that.
You'll get a little thing on your screen in a second.
There we go. Show my screen. The question: you're seeing my screen? It's amazing. All right.
Yes,
hello.
We're seeing a PowerPoint or
presentation.
PowerPoint.
Now do this. Now you see the whole screen. Yeah.
Now we do.
Okay, very good. Yeah, questions. I may ask questions myself, so you got to watch that. It's one of those things. Get back to you. So yes, we're going to talk about as the subject matter the 1201, really the application features in 1201 that we're going to talk about. And the biggest part of it will be the query results processor views. That was the new feature we added to really it's brand new regarding the ability to look at multiple results from multiple databases. And I hope to give more of a demo today than I have ever before. I list below my blog and my email and the Twitter account, those kind of things. You can follow me there, and I try to communicate everything I do in the blog so you can see that and read what I put out. So that's my way of doing things. The agenda today is really the named documents and named results. That's two named things I'll talk about. Hopefully there won't be any confusion between those two, but I'll get that out there. DQL, we're not stopping as promised. We continue to enhance DQL and get better and faster all the time. And the QRP views, query result processor views, QRP will be used interchangeably with query result processor, just the acronym, so you can tell all your friends about the new acronym. All right, let's get into it. Yeah, so named documents, what are they? Well, they are basically kind of a profile document redux. They do resolve some of the issues with profile documents. Particularly, you may know that profile documents are hardwired to threads. You can't even get to the updates. You can't even do updates sometimes because of that. And there is no cache, so we're going to use the buffer pool as a cache. Essentially, that's what's happening here. What they have a lot in common with profile notes is the APIs, the exposure, the hidden document nature. Those are all part of both of these mechanisms. And they can only be done through the back end right now. There is no CAPI publication. We're looking at that for 1202, but that's it. Now, talking to Jim Cooper, who does the back end classes in my team, so really the rule of thumb is to use named documents, this feature, documents on servers and profile documents on client, principally because of that mapping to the thread ID. you know, with server, you can come in within even a session, switch the thread, and suddenly you can't see them. So on the client, that's not so much of a problem. So that's basically one of the main things we did put together here. Okay, so you know, you're used to get profile documents, basically the same call is happening. Get name document, you pass in the overall name and the username qualifier, and you get back a new document, like you would say, you know, create document. It's the same idea, and that's the way you work with profile documents as well. I mean, people who've used the backend understand these, they know these calls. It won't be new to you. Certainly, if you've used the profile document interface, you'll understand this and use it pretty extensively that way. The document collection is supported as well, so you can get all the documents given the name. Without the username, you can basically get all of the documents within that overall key. And the username key are retrieved across that set. So it gives you a document collection of all those for bulk processing. Again, if you're used to using profile documents, you're used to these interfaces, it's kind of the same thing. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. Just to complete the thought, this is these are, I pretend that I know how to code load a script here a little bit and do some setting of these things. And these calls, again, are part of this whole thing. It lets you know, is this a named document or not? In the case of Java, it's get named document. I'm sorry, it's the other way around. So yeah, the is named document is a property. Get named document is the function call in Java. Likewise, get name of doc, it's returns the name, user. I mean, these are calls. If you've used the profile document interfaces, you understand those. It just basically gives you information about a given document you have in hand inside your code. Okay, so that's basically what that does. I don't know if I just yeah, okay. So I guess it's a little bit out of order with the agenda. I apologize for that. But just to shift gears right away, DQL has been around since 10. It has undergone several additions. Right now, it contains all of the ways you search a document you can do in Domino. That was the goal, and we are there now. With the addition of formula language in the syntax, we have arrived at that point of saying that there's really nothing you can't do with DQL regarding searching in Domino. So the syntax, we tried to combine formula language syntax with DQL syntax. It just became too confusing. It was, you know, what mode you're in. Not that we couldn't parse it, but you really couldn't code it. It was difficult to know quite what you're dealing with here. So what we did, I mean, things like you can name a field a certain name, it can conflict with your formula language. So we said, no, let's fall back a little bit here and create a la DQL's DT and some of those other constructs, a different way of looking at it. So at FL is formula language, case insensitive, upper lower, we don't care, mixed, who cares, camel case, whatever you want. At FL or at formula is the way that you couch the actual formula language inside of that. You see in the example here, two different capabilities. The first one produces a value that you can compare in DQL to either this one's hard coded, but you can do a substitution variable in that and you know, basically change your compared results, compared value, I should say, inside the DQL. So that's left and right hand side of a term. The one below that is a unary term, true false. You know, does this formula return 0 or 1 essentially? And that is the, you know, the way to do a unary term using the formula language. So both exist. You can do both. You know, formula language. Of course, the beauty here, the value add is that we have now intra-document terms, basically between different fields. You can compare this date to that date. You know, this string to that string within the document. You can, of course, the full expression support is part of formula language. And a huge library, you know, I mean, if you've done Domino development, you understand the huge library, particularly against textual data. I would put it up against any any function library in any package that we have available here. So the burning question, and this keeps coming up everywhere I go, should I be using DQL? And you know, I can't really answer that in your case, except to say, look, it's where we're putting our best efforts right now. We're working really hard to give you something that's useful across all of the search mechanisms. It's a central way to do things. You will find, yes, you can find some places where DQL is slower than say FT search, but we're working to correct all that, and we're never getting slower. DQL is constantly getting faster. So it's fully functional. It is certainly performant. It certainly has been adopted by a lot of people. I know because I'm getting problems, not bugs, but questions about it. And it's there. I'll just say it's a fully fledged feature. We're working on it. It's hot off the press, and we continue to work on it, continue to enhance it. So that's my answer to saying, look, it's what I'm working on. If it makes sense to use, I would use it. Yes. Okay. Okay. The next one is to kind of difference between the named documents and the named result sets. This is a capability we put in place to be able to keep around sets of documents for quick retrieval. Okay, and you don't need, the good thing about this, you don't need full text indexes, you don't need views, you just create these things. It's kind of like a folder without a view, without a front end. It creates a result set internally. It's an ID table, a table of node IDs that's kept around. And you can create it. Say you have a set of documents. The use case is this. The use case is that you would create a set of documents, say in the morning, or if it doesn't change for a week, something doesn't change a lot, and very quickly retrieve them, which I'll show you how to do. So there are new, there's a new class, the NR class, a new, a new way to save results in the DQL call, the document collection, as an execute basically, and it says, look, I want you to save the result name. So the result name is the new thing. Replace says, I want you to overwrite if there's a result of that name already out there, you already saved a set of results, replace it. And the final argument on that is the expire hours. How long do you want to keep this set? Of course, they take up space, and you might not want, it might not be something you want even an hour from now. So you can pass it in as well. What this does, it creates a set of documents you can retrieve using DQL very quickly. I mean, 1,000 times faster than any other mechanism. And these are the arguments. You can replay this slideshow and go through this, but those are the execute of a Domino query. So you basically say, I'm writing Domino query. I'm not sure why the document collection's out there, but you basically, the execute of a Domino query can you use these new arguments to save a found set. Okay. Then to use that, I said to reference it. Okay, how do you get it back? The question is. So here we are. We're saving it. The DQL execute. You see that we're saying that the name is docset1. Yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah, replace is the true. I'm sorry. 8760 is 1 day, or I'm sorry, it's 1 year. That's how many hours in a year. So you're saying I want to save this found set for a year. You might not want to do that, but just demonstrates it. And then to reuse it, you can use the in clause of DQL. People know the in clause of DQL. You can use folder names, view names, and now this overrides both of them and says, okay, if I'm going to look for doc set first. So if it is, that execute says, find doc set 1 that you saved for me and bring it right into my Boolean syntax. So that set is ended right here, the and with field 2 equals value. That is ended, and the performance gain is immense. That's huge. So that's one reason we put it together. The other reason is that you have found sets that don't change. They exist, they're static, at least for a day, and this can give you a much faster retrieval speed. Okay, as I said, the use cases are kind of reporting, a daily, hourly document search. You do all the time. They're static, I will say that. They do not refresh automatically. They do expire. That's what that 8760 is. How many hours? It's 1 year. And there are database limits that we don't let people run away with these things and store all these found sets that basically will break, fill up storage, and you can override that, but that's the basic limit we have right now. And they do expire. And I mentioned 8760 is 1 year in hours. Okay, so that's that. And they're handled administratively using updal. You can delete one, you can delete all, delete old, report, basically finding all the found sets you have out there. That's all there with updal. Updal-J with an option, and the options are these. You can name the one to be deleted. I think this is pretty obvious. You can see that. Updal also has the help text will show you this, so you should be able to see it. Yeah, and yes, the backend classes do support remove all query named results. That's the same as delete all. Okay, so that's the administration part of this. They will expire normally. An updal run will expire those, which whatever it finds that have expired will throw them away. Okay, now we're going into Query Results Processor, and I really want to spend the bulk of what I'm talking about here in this class so you can understand it. There's a bunch of reading materials that are out there. Of course, the regular documentation, Java and Lotus script are out there. You can look at this. I wrote, toward the end of last year, wrote 3 blog posts. They're pretty exhaustive regarding the API calls and arguments and the mechanism for doing this, just to make sure people had that. And I did refer in those to a set of, or a tutorial that I would put together, and this right now is part of that. So I want to say, I will basically point to this and say this is going to give enough demonstration so you can be dangerous now with the Query Results Processor. And I thank Jesse for writing his blog post about it and keeping me honest, and just basically saying here's what we have, and I think it's very good because I really wanted to have his and frankly your impressions of what we've done, so you can see, you can comment on what it doesn't solve your problems essentially. Is it useful to you? And I think the answer is generally yes. I think there's a general case that's true. Okay, so the reason we invented the Query Result Processor was DQL's out there, and it does this. It finds as I mentioned, every possible way you can find a document in Domino. It does that, and it does that for a single database, and it allows for manual traversal through the result sets, or anything you do with a notes document collection. We can do using DQL. What it does not do, and these are kind of, people say, well, we need more than this. I need to have something presentable, something fetchable, something I can look at. I want to be able to sort by anything other than just node ID, which is what you get with DQL. And I want to get results from multiple databases. That request has been around as long as I've been with Domino, and do it all on the fly with discardable results. And so that was kind of the requirement set that we took when we started talking about building Query Results Processor. And it was built in 2 parts. We built it for version 12 and 12.01. In 12, we delivered an execute to JSON approach, which does that. It produces JSON in a sortable, aggregated way. And in 12.01, we really wanted to give people, and they asked for this, people who use 12 said, I really want to have a traverse, a more pageable, searchable set. And so, well, that is spelled I can't spell it, V-I-E-W, view. And that's what we built. In Domino, that's a view. Okay, that is the classic way of searching and finding documents and traversal, and paging, those kind of things. So the APIs around views are immense, and we said that's what we're going to use here. Now it does change a little bit the way that you think about views. Views, and I'll go into a few slides, I'll talk about this. Views have always been a way to formalize your design, and they reside as permanent design elements, right? That's how people use it, and it's been like that forever. So looking at that, interesting enough, we have those things, of course, at HCL. Going to databases, and part of the DQL effort, I did some reporting on, well, what are the views available and how often have they been used? And we found something like 95% of our views hadn't been opened in 5 years. Okay, so you may say that it's useful to have views around as a permanent design element, but they're not being used. They're just taking up space in the trough on the left in your client. That's all they are. So it gives the idea that, okay, views can be thrown away. They can exist as a temporary thing. So I'm going to get that in a few slides. It came to mind now. So what are the use cases? What are the things that get approached here? Why would you use Query Results Processor? What does it solve? Well, we've had several requests for the cyclical periodic reporting. You know, oftentimes it's regulatory. They have to do a report, or something in the data has to be reported upon every month, every year, every quarter, whatever it is. Well, this is custom made for this, perfect for this. This is exactly the kind of thing that you do to generate such a report. Another request from customers, and I'm getting down into the details here a little bit, but the details are, I want to basically look up a data element, okay? Some field equals value, some object with a name. I want to get everything about that, gather it in hand, and be able to look at a composite of data across all your databases concerning that particular object. So there's a case, people they want to research a case, a user, and I'm going to show you a part number, that kind of thing. That's one of the ways you gather these things and look at them in a central way. The third one that we know about, and there are others, I'm going to say you have other ones, I know that other things will come up, but this third one is snapshotting, okay? Basically recording a state. So workflows going on, and you know, the idea is with a regular view is you want to refresh them. Well, you don't have to refresh them. You can keep the state of things in a certain period of time. So workflow can be documented this way. You can keep in the view itself the point in time every day, month, and quarter. I just printed something. And the underlying documents, of course, may change, but you have the state in that view. The snapshot is intact, and you can look across as you study the workflow. Here's how things were as of a certain time. So it's a very important, very powerful mechanism for doing that. Okay, and you know, there will be other ones that you might think of. You can tell us. Okay, thank you. Okay, very quickly, you can use the blog to find detailed calls here, and I'm going to show you some code in a minute. And I really want to focus on that as a way to demonstrate the actual API calls. But what you need is a query processor instance, Query Results Processor instance, a QRP, in a host database. That host database is the place we will create the view. That's what it is. Okay, that's why we need one of those, a place to hang the view, to put it. Okay, and as Jesse brought up, yeah, you need designer privileges in that database. Okay, so that argues, and we have designed it in a way that says you really want to have a dedicated separate database. You can put it anywhere. You can do what you want. But the design is that we say, okay, dedicated database. I do this. I'm going to show you that. I have a dedicated database to my results, and that's where they go. You see, and for that database, yes, you need design privileges, but okay, it's a separate database. Who cares? And we'll do that. Okay, so what it needs then, what a QRP needs, is a set of documents. You must have at least one set of documents, either using add document query or add collection. Those are the two calls. Add document query uses DQL, add collection uses any other mechanism, FT search, DB search, whatever you want. A notes document collection can be added to the QRP using the add collection. You must name them, and I'll show you why in a minute. But there is at least one set of documents, otherwise we have nothing to process. And then you have to add columns. Now think of this as left to right, view columns you're adding. At least one, of course. You can't really have a view without a single column. You must have something. And it has a programmatic name, a view column title, formula, and some attributes on the end of it, which correspond to that column. And that's you must have one, as I was saying. And then the final one is the fancy part where you say, okay, thank you for your collections. Thank you for your sets of documents. Now I want, and your columns, now I want to have some special overrides. I want to specify a different formula to override what you specified in the column. If you don't specify the formula, we will use the programmatic name as a field name. Okay, that's important. That the field name is part of the programmatic name. We'll pull that in as a raw field. If you add formula or put a formula on the add column call, you will override that and specify your specific formula. And I'll show you a bunch of those. We have a bunch of those coming in the demo. Okay, So that's it, really. That's the piece. That's all the pieces that are out there right now. And you can again, look at the blog for details or replay this demo that I'm about to go into. Okay, so my demo is in Java, and I will show you the code as it exists. And if I can find it, there it is. Okay, so I hope this is big enough screen. If not, you can expand in your viewer. But the first thing I'm going to go through right now is what I have is 4 separate databases which contain in them orders. The orders that are in my mythical company, and there are 4 of them right now. So once per year, this is the cyclical thing I was talking about. So you have between 2017 and 2020, you have the orders all out there. And so what we need for this, so we're going to basically generate revenue by office. Okay, the office is the locale of the wherever the salespeople reside. And so what we need here, okay, and this is our shopping list. We need 1 query processor object created against the database. We need 5 database objects. Okay, 1 for each of the orders database, plus 1 for the host database. Okay, that's 5 total, and we need 4 Domino query objects. We're going to use DQL to specify the actual found sets we're going to pass in here. This is pretty simple. We're going to basically find all the documents in each one of these. Okay, I just demonstrate a little bit here with the array list processing. It's just a thought. You might want in Java, you can basically keep the database objects around so you can handle them in bulk and do that kind of thing. I do not know if databases can be vectored in Lotus Script. I'm not a Lotus Script guy. You tell me. I think they can, but you let me know. So here we go. I'm going to trust this session going. That name DB name is passed in. It is my repository for these QRP views. Okay. And then I have a bunch of databases. I open each one of them in turn. I will get a Domino query for each one of them. As I do that, I'm setting, okay, first of all, create the query processor. A little bit I've already here, sorry about that, but create the QRP from the host database. That's this database here. See that? We're creating that. And then specify, in each case, each database, the DQL call. So we're adding a document. We create the DQL, the Domino query object from the source database that you're dealing with, whatever it is, the database you're dealing with. And so this 4 databases: source 2, source 3, and source 4. And you will add basically create a Domino query for each one of those. Okay. The query is always at all in this case. So we're going to add those, and this adds the DQL object to the QRP. You see the QRP add document query, Domino query, that using that query, that Domino query object, and then the name. Okay, so that is, let me take a breath. That is the way to add a DQL query to your QRP. You see, that will create. You can just stop there if that's all you're doing, one set of documents if that's all you're doing. Once you've done that, you have your found sets inside the QRP. We're not going to stop there though. We're going to go into each of these databases, 2018, 19, 20, and add each one of these. They're identical as far as it goes. You know, the reason I kind of showed you the array processor is you can shrink this code, right? You don't have to have this outlaid like this. You can shrink this code and just have a loop that goes through things here. But you add in any case, you add the Domino query to the QRP. So at this point, we have 4 Domino queries added to the QRP. They're all executed and ready to go by the time we get through. Now the names are here, results 1 through 4, I think it is, yep. And those are, is it just, yeah, 1 through 4. Those exist out there. So what we have to do next is to add a set of columns to the view. Okay, this is, as I say, left to right, think of it that way. And there's a set of column names we put out there. Again, the first is the first argument is the programmatic name. Now, in this case, order origin is the field name. So we're not going to override that at all. There's no need to override it. We're just passing it in as order origin field. We rename it at the title of the view, the title of the column, I'm sorry, office. And that's what happens. We want this sorted ascending. It is not hidden, it is categorized. That's what those mean. So we're having, in this case, you can see we have two fields that are each categorized. Double categories going on here. And the second one, the year, it has year is not a field in the database. So what we do, and you find nothing if you just left that alone. So what we do is call the @year function inside of the formula language override, and that will produce the year coming back as a categorized value. Okay. The next one is, we're calling it the sum PP, which is it's a name that, again, that name doesn't exist either. It doesn't have, of course, that's not a field in the database, but we override it with this. So this does a round of a sum, basically. Price per is a field in the database, and we are overriding that to provide a set of values that come back as amount of sale. They're named that. This is not sorted. It is, I'm sorry, sorted descending is not categorized. Okay, so that's the last of the sorted fields we have. Now, after that comes a bunch of different documents coming in. We have spiel. Let's call spiel. I'm not sure what that is. If we have, it's called description. I don't know if I successfully populated that. You may be looking at a bug. How about that? Anyway, that's the fifth field, and the sixth field is this status. Ordered underscore status is a field in the database. We did not override it. The last three columns here are not sorted. Okay, so that's all that. And I show you the execute to view, giving you the view name, how many hours I'm going to keep it, 24, and I override the file. So there is, we do protect at the view level the access to the data. So you can specify, no, I don't want anyone to see this but me. But in this case, I overrode it to say I want everybody to see it. Okay, so I'm going to show you the result, because I don't want to. I want to breeze through the execution of it. So I do have the database in hand. Here's the view I just created. Okay, we showed you this. So you see that the office is on the left here. If I click open this, you see the years are broken out with the amount of sale coming in. And then under that are the actual data. So this is the actual orders that came in 2017. And you may have seen this before, but we do have the ability inside the Notes client to open each of the documents. Okay, they're residing in different places. Again, 2017 is a different database than 2019, but we can order both of them. We can open both of those. So that's a feature that we put in kind of late in the game, but it's all there. I mean, you've seen views like this. This is not earth-shattering, except the results come from multiple places. So you've got this ability to summarize and report on data cyclical and across time. So that's pretty cool. That's all there. Okay, so next, let's breeze into the next one. Make sure I'm not taking too much time. I'm doing okay. Yeah, we're okay. All right. So the next one says I want to basically say, okay, I've got some salespeople around my organization. They cross, of course, they're in different offices, and I want to see, okay, how have they done sales-wise? Who has the biggest sales across time and by year? So I want to break that out. Same set of databases coming in, same $all selection. We're doing the same work, except we have different columns. Okay, the columns are then saying, okay, I want salesperson to break out. That same view, really, except I'm going to break out salesperson instead of office. And that's what I'm going to produce here. And I'm going to create the revenue by person view, again overriding the same exact set of values come in, but overriding the security, the names, reader list essentially on the view level. Okay, so what does that look like? It's basically the same thing, except broken out by user, and that is I think I have it here, revenue by person. Sure enough. So let me shrink that. You've got this going on. You can see who has the biggest sales. I don't think I sorted by order of sale. I don't think you, by the way, this is a restriction. I don't believe I can sort by that. But I do believe that Trudy Aiden is the winner here. Heard that number is the largest. I'm pretty sure in the list as I looked at it last time. So she wins. And I can drill down into her annual sales and look at each of the orders that she generated. Same thing. You can open up the order and look at it that way. So same idea. You can look at anything you want. She's the winner. Okay, so she's the one who sold the most. We have the total sales. Again, this is the same as the order by office, except it's broken out by name. Okay, so again, you can throw these away. You can create something on the fly and just do certain types of sales, certain part numbers, which I'll show you in a minute, and keep it around the same breakout by name, that kind of thing, whatever you want to do. This is the beauty of Domino views, it's right there. Okay, so that one's pretty easy as well. I just wanted to show you a different breakout. Okay, so Trudy Aiden, as I mentioned, she wins. She won the award as the best salesperson in the last 4 years. We want to award her and give her a bonus and a raise potentially. But to do that, we want to be able to look at her orders, her recent email, and her person document, or just to cite a random set of documents coming in. And we can tailor the award to read her email, and we can write verbiage about what she did well and that kind of thing. It's basically, let's make the award a personal one. So we're going to create a view that has some personal data in it and look at it in a way that lets us look at the person, Trudy Aiden. So you can see that I have in this a different set of databases. I'm going to gather mail. Okay, so mail is part of this. My email is what I'm going to search here, looking when she's the principal. She is the principal who's done this. Sam is my grandson, and Sam Org is my domain. So that query is coming in soon. That's going to get her mail. Okay. The next one is I want to get her person document from I have a fake 25K NSF data and a fake name and address book that has her name in it as well. I want that to be the second result. So let's have that come in as they said, and then do the same queries against the different databases. Now, in this case, we're going to have a different query. We just want hers. So the query is going to be salesperson equals Trudy Aiden. So each of the order databases are going to be queried, and then the order. What happens now is the columns get kind of funky. They get kind of weird, right? Because how do you blend? Now you can write formula language code and do this in a single database. You can do that. I'm not saying you can't, but the idea is by separating these, you can actually see the formulas getting overridden one at a time. So we basically have three columns here. This is the person, okay, and we're going to call it salesperson. That is the field, okay. That's the name coming in. We're entitling it person. We're going to sort that. We're going to categorize by it. There's only one name here, but it's Trudy. And then the document type. Now that's not a field in any of the databases, so we're going to have to generate that with a formula override below. And then the description, okay, which is kind of just what is that? Well, that's different for every database. Okay, so that's not the same thing coming in. So let's now override. So these overrides show the power of that call. How you can take and say, okay, I have a set of documents. I have several sets of documents. They are named with certain names, and now I want to override what I'm actually putting in for a different column. Okay, that's how this works. So formula, add formula says I want to basically use the doc type field, and I want to override. I want to put the word mail when the result is result 1. Well, where's result 1? Well, okay, that's her email. That's exactly right. We want to put mail as a doc type there. See what that's doing? So you have the ability now to insert a doc type, to override the doc type. Okay. Likewise, I want to take that same field, the doc type, for result 2. Well, that's person. That is something I got the NAB, right? The result 2 is this, and I want to put that in there. So this matches the second result. I want to put person as a field name. A value coming in through the formula language. Likewise, salesperson. I want to basically take, if I have a salesperson coming in, everywhere it is, I want to override salesperson with the name Trudy Ayton. Okay, so this says I'm not really looking for the salesperson field. I'm going to override it with the literal Trudy Ayton in every case, and that's true across all. That asterisk is a pattern match across all of the incoming found sets. So again, go back to the salesperson. Here it is. That's the salesperson column across each of these found sets. I'm going to insert Trudy Ayton. That's how you override that. Okay. And then the last one, the doc type. Okay, we're going to look at more doc types here. So ordered res, you see that asterisk at the end? That basically says the order res 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are called order res 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see that? These values. This said those are the found sets coming in, and you're overriding in those, each of those, when you put the asterisk at the end. In that case, I want to just put orders. That's what I want. Orders is going to be the doc type coming in. Okay, and then let's override the description column. There is no description column in the description field in these databases. So this programmatic name has to be overridden, and it is. Okay, so we basically say description for result 1, which is your mail. I'm going to put in delivery date plus the subject. That's what I'm going to create the formula for that column. Okay, and then I'm going to override for the result 2, which is your name and address book. Again, is Ms. Trudy Ayton person document. That's the literal I'm putting in there as part of that field, that column value. Okay, and lastly, the orders themselves. I'm going to create this kind of complicated string coming in as a value computed on the fly for the description. And again, the overrides, the ord res star, that's an override for all of the results named ord res 1 through 4. Same thing as we had with the doc type. Okay, and then I'm going to just execute. It's the same thing called Trudy docs, 24 hours, and the override for the reader list. What does that look like? Okay, let's look at the view, and you can see the pieces that are out there. So Trudy docs, here it is, and I can shrink this. Look at just Trudy Ayton. Yeah, 3 different doc types. There it is, mail, order, and person. You see that? And I can, at that point, look at the mail. All the mail she sent me. This is generated nonsense, but that's is tested. We have a tool called Test NSF that just puts stuff out there. Sometimes it's very, very bizarre text, but it's out there. It's mail. Okay. And then there's the orders, okay, and this is the order number, that string I told you I put together, which has the actual order number. And look at the order, it's there. You can see her order coming in, okay, across the board, and her person document, which could have, you know, anything you want to know about Trudy. What we're afraid to ask is in here. So that's the view. We have everything you specified in the document. You drill down to one person's information. Okay, that's what I mentioned. That I think it's the second of the 3 use cases, drilling down into documents themselves. Okay, so let's do the last one now, which is going to take the same idea as that, but instead we have a part number. This part number, which is P0, all those zeros, and 9109, has given us a royal pain. It has been a real problem in the customer set. So that part number, I want to basically find everything I can about that part number everywhere I can. So the part number, where it exists, what are the email I received about it, where are the orders that contain it, what's our damage control here, what's going on here. So I do a string prod. So basically, I use this value. Just to tell you the truth, that's the value I used. And the idea is that you could drill down into a case, or you tell me what the business case is. But you can drill down into a piece of data and use its value to cross multiple databases, gathering all the information about that thing in different ways and present it in a central way inside of the view. Okay, so that's what you have here. And again, I'm looking at, okay, in this case, I'm going to go after the parts themselves. I want the part description. So another database I haven't showed you before, that is going to be the second result. So result 1 is my mail. Second one is the part itself to see what's going on. And then again, the order numbers, they are passed in, and I think the query is, contains part number. This is if the part number shows up in the anywhere in the the document, that you will see it. So the part number will be part of this. You know, yes, if the part number is listed in the order, it will show up in the results set. Okay, again, I am overriding things a little bit, not quite as much as I did in the last one, but you can see that I am taking doc type in each case and plugging in the values based upon the results. You can go back to the last one and see how I did that. Part number is passed in as a value. This is the hard-coded part number. It's a string, it's a literal being passed into the formula. This text is basically, are we doing for the result one? This is email again, subject is the text created and the subject. And then the parts document is, again, a literal for each of the result two. There should be just one, I think there's only one entry here, but for the parts and the actual parts description, but it basically says this is a parts document. And then for the orders themselves, again, I'm overriding ord res here, which takes all of these ord res 1 through 4 and plugging in for the description column, plugging in this computed formula language. Okay, I run it, I create a report part with the part number. So the part number becomes part of the view name. Okay, so you can get a multiple views, one of each for your number. There's no law here to say you can't have multiple part numbers in this, by the way, but this is just to show you the kind of thing you can drill down on. You know, basically someone wants to see, like, we have a problem here. We want to really dive down into the resulting data. This gives you a nice compact way to do it, pulls things together in a central place and lets you display what's out there. So so here we go. Let's go look at this one. So good old part number, yeah, P09109. This has again in it the value that's out there. Okay, let's just shrink that. Look at the mail received there, and a lot of bad stuff. Stop the bleeding, please. Whatever. I tried to get a little bit fancy here. This has not been fun, this part. So you can see that mail is part of that. I'm able to see peanut is on nemesis. This is all, you know, these are bad news to get out. And if you had good news about it, you see that as well. The query doesn't care what it's written. It just tried to find the part number inside the subject and found it just fine. So you can see those are mail that comes in. The orders, wow, we have a bunch of orders in part of those. And yeah, we can drill down into each of these and you'll find it here. Of course, this very minimal form. I'm not claiming to have a great form here, but you know what forms are. You guys have done it forever. So that's the idea that you can drill down into the orders. And then under that, the parts document itself, I figure what this is. This is all generated stuff. Uncommon among skirts. Yeah, so this is a separate brass skirt. I stole a bunch of strings from a manufacturing site and just plugged them in. Anyway, you can see that this is a way to gather all the data and more. You can gather more data wherever it resides, you know. And is the data the same? No. Are the designs of the input data? No, they're not at all the same, but they're pulled together in a central view. This is QRP. This is the power that we're trying to produce and give you so you can report on it. Each of these are views that expire in 24 hours. If I ran Updahl right now, they just go away. I'm not going to do that, but that is essentially what that Updahl cleans them up. It looks at them and says, oh, yeah, sorry, gone. You can also, as I'll show you back to the presentation, you'll see that we have the ability to kill those. Okay, to actually kill those one at a time. Okay, so this is the slide I've shown for a long time here regarding how the processor flows. Okay, you've got a set of documents on the left, which you have created. I showed you how to do that. Again, I didn't show you FT search. I didn't show you DB search, but you can do those. That's the point. You can create any way you created a document collection. You can do. You basically input that. Combine is not done yet. That will be coming in the future. We'll see. To do a formal join, we haven't got that yet. But we do have the fetch. The fetch is what I just demonstrated to you. I also put in as part of the 1201 timeframe the ability, the actual view engine, NIF, is interrupted now and go back and get multiple found sets. That was the work, most of the work that went on here. And you have two specified outputs, again, JSON or views, and each has its strength, that sort of thing. So this is really, the Domino search service has never been callable outside of views, and you can now, when the JSON case, call the sort package. Okay, again, this is the kind of review and the way it works. You have QRPs, views are basically they're views. You think of it that way. They have selection criteria. They have columns. That's the two basic things you need. Selection criteria is programmatic in this case. You're basically saying, I have a QRP, I have a DQL query, or a FT search, whatever you did to create the selection criteria. You're doing that in the code. And then you're specifying columns as I showed you. And they are the same, except they're programmatic, right? Same thing. I just showed you that. They are different in that their data spans, they span multiple databases, first of all. They pull in data from multiple places. And they're built as query results. They're not refreshable like that, at least not yet. And they're not replicable design elements. You can't replicate them. They're local to one database. And they're created to expire. They're programmatically rebuilt and repopulated. Basically, if you want them again, create them again. That's the current model. And there's a lot of data. You saw the data flying by regarding how much processing goes into reproducing to create them, and to replay that, we'd have to have your logic. So we may do that if that's a request. Please, hit your local AHA database, your AHA requests. Okay, so here's some vital concepts. They're secured at the view level. I showed you this in the readers list. That's that on the execute to view call. There is a CN equals star, that sort of thing. They are hidden by default, and we don't have a way to unhide them right now. If that's a request, we really wanted to keep them that way so they don't show up in the trough unless you know about them. You don't want to see people don't want to see views they can't see. They are designed to expire and purge automatically. 24 hours, I believe, is the default. That's true, yes. You can override and any number. It's a long. You can have them live for eternity, 30 years. Who cares? You can have them go for a long time. If you want to keep them, great, keep them. And they can contain data from any database. Okay, given any criteria. You saw that. I showed you that. They can be stored in any database. But again, as Jesse pointed out, and I just mentioned, you need to have design privileges in that database. So, okay, so be armed with that knowledge, and we recommend a separate dedicated database, which I showed you. That database I showed you was a dedicated database to QRP views. Now they have the one part of the APIs that doesn't work, because we did not want to confuse the node IDs in the QRP view with those in the database, was the node ID itself. I didn't show this time, but I have in the past. If you did a right click and did a document properties, it would not work, because that document does not exist in the database. If you want to look at it, open it. That's essentially what we're doing here. They have at the end of them some hidden columns to provide the database path and the original node ID that's documented. You can open up a document inside of your logic and Lotus script or Java and knock yourself out with that document. You can do anything you want. They do exist. That's how you get to the document. It's not the node ID is not the way. We do create these node ID fields, but it's not the same. Those are the original node ID in the source database. Okay, they support categorization. I showed you hidden columns, aggregates versus average and sum. And again, I showed you this, the notes UI does allow you to open the original document in wherever it resides with a double click. Okay, yeah, so here's the administration pieces here. To see what views exist in the database, you can basically do show database qrp.host, in this case, E. E means E. There are several options in the show database command, but the E for expires, I guess I'll say. And there they are, and hopefully it's better formatted. But you see the idea that we have the expiration in that review, how big they are, and when they expire. You'll see that as part of the host database. That actually goes through the views, the QRPs views specifically. The E option does QRP views specifically. Okay, you can let them expire on their own. As I'm saying, they do timeout and get deleted, or use Updal or the backend classes to delete them explicitly. So the -tx does exactly that. It doesn't delete a regular view. It will delete a QRP view. That won't work for regular views. You can't do that for that. And I gave you this is the verbiage it produces. So it says deleted and expired when, and that will print the information that up to all accomplished. Okay, some restrictions, truth in advertising. They are not refreshed, I said that. You must delete and recreate. They do not replicate, okay? I should mention, I don't know if I did this here. They're only on local databases. You cannot do a QRP on a remote database. The reason being, the NRPC call is immense. You can imagine all that data coming across the wire. We're not doing that. So do it locally, either your client or the server, and that's where it created. They do not replicate. They do not enforce document security at the view level. So you can see entries, potentially see an entry, if you're granted read access to the view, you can see entries that you cannot open the document. Try to open the document, that will fail. Okay, we've tested this extensively, you can't do that. They do not tolerate designer changes. Do not go into a QRP view and add a column. It will break. Don't do that. It's not the way it works. So you can modify things, the design things like fonts and colors, so that you understand the difference between the structure versus the design attributes. And if you do modify the structure, the results are not predictable. Basically, it usually comes up with, they're all a bunch of replication conflicts. It doesn't make sense. So you'll have to recreate it. And that is it with that. How are we doing with time? Not bad. Okay. So at this time, we'll visit the questions.
Thanks, John. I'll take over. That was really, really interesting. Let's see. Okay. So just, hold on. I got to show my screen. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so again, a reminder, asking questions to use the questions pane in the GoToWebinar interface. And we have quite a few questions lined up already, John. You have had a lot of interest here. So let's start off with the first one. Is there any reason to use or not to use a named documents on client-side script? So I imagine that's from Greg. He's talking about Lotus script or Java running on the Notes client.
No, there's no reason not to do that. No, it's that reason. The statement really is that comparing it to profile documents. That's all. You can use it both places. Yes, it's just saying that the profile documents have unique issues on servers where thread IDs change. It's been around forever. So we tried to address that. Of course, you can use them in the client. Yes.
Okay, Jesse, do you want to grab the next question?
So the next question, will named documents work in a web context?
There's no reason they shouldn't. Nope. I mean, yes, they will. Just say yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. What happens when you use named documents and it's a Notes 11 client or before that didn't support the named documents?
I didn't understand that. Can you?
If you try to execute the code, the new code with named documents, and you have a Notes 11 client.
If it's referenced, so basically the locality of the code is what matters here.
Okay, where the code's running. So
where the code's running, it doesn't. The code in 11 can't find a 12.0 construct.
Right. Yeah, just, I mean, if you're using this code in a mixed environment, you just want to test your version.
Yeah, and you can find it certainly on the server, you can, right? So anyway.
Okay, Jesse?
So are save conflicts with named documents handled the same way as with normal documents?
Same time?
Save conflicts, sorry.
Oh, whoa. We should not have, no, I mean, they're protected. I don't believe we have basically if it exists, you'll get an error. So, basically it's out there now, you have to override it. So that's what we, when you basically create these things, you're saying, I want to replace it. You're specifying, I'm going to blow it away. You see, and that will avoid having conflicts. Is that clear? Understood?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Had a couple questions about learning DQL. Someone asked, where's the best place to learn about DQL? And someone also commented that right now they're kind of searching blogs and stuff like that, and they go to look at the documentation at HCL, and there's only like 2 lines for the new calls.
Yeah, I mean, the DQL, yeah, I presume you mean the DQL syntax. I mean, I think the calls are pretty cut and dry. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is about the calls you're talking about, but the syntax itself, we designed it to be pretty easy, but of course, I run it all the time. It's easy for me. I'm not suggesting
You invented it.
Yeah, I'm not, I run more DQL than anyone on earth. So that, but at the same time, I think learning the ands and the ors, the nested parens, that kind of thing. We tried to make it as kind of universal as we could regarding kind of the rules of engagement here. When you have a query language, you want to embed things, you want to basically solve the inside first, you put parens around that stuff. That's the rule there. Ands and ors. There's some little funkiness about, you know, what is a at DT? What does the in clause do? If it made sense, we could put together a tutorial again, but again, we've done a bunch of talks on this. So, you know, I think Graham, I don't see Graham anymore, but certainly with the Canadian group, we did a bunch of stuff regarding the syntax. So anyway, we can do more. It's no question, but yes, it is advised that you look up either me or someone else presenting on it. There's been a bunch of things. I know the DNUG had one last year that for German-speaking people that went through it extensively. So,
I think we have OpenNTF one. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I don't remember
as well.
the full set that's out there, but it's not new that way. We
right. Could you, and actually let me just make a comment from someone had on the documentation. They said that the documentation for named documents only had 2 lines in it, where the profile documents had all sorts of stuff. So it's something you might want to look at.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. It's one of the things I review. I don't get. You know, I'm guilty of not getting to everything that way. So yes, please tell us that. Do us a favor and let us know if we have holes. It's not. Of course, it's not intentional.
All right, Jesse, you got something lined up?
All right, the next question here is, can you provide an example or use case of when using DQL is not a good decision?
It's not a good decision. The biggest ones right now are the speed. Right now, we just finished in 1202, I should say. We're working on it right now. But if you have using full text and you're doing contains, this field contains this, field 2 contains this, field 3 contains that, we do separate and rather slow FT searches there. So that's a case where you would say, okay, an FT search that has it all in the syntax of full text is indeed quite a bit faster. So that speed really is the reason. As far as the function, like, you know, the whole idea of DQL is to combine them all into a single syntax. So that's all there. I don't think, for instance, DB, and oh yeah, the DB search thing. If you pass in what we call a since time, so you basically you use the bucket searching, if you know what that is, inside of NSF, that can be faster also. But in general, the NSF scanning is the fastest there is. In fact, it's not necessarily exposed. I think Carson Lehman has a similar implementation of it, but it's not the normal DB search does kind of an open document type of thing. So anyway, speed is the answer to that. It's really the only thing, because everything else is contained with the advent of formula language, I should say. That is, once we did that, we now have everything. Okay.
Have a question. Is the name result set kept in memory between sessions or users or agent calls?
Yes, that's the whole point of it. Yes, it's stored under a name in the database. Any in clause in DQL can fetch it. Yes, it's stored as long as it doesn't expire. It has an expiration date, But if you store it, yes, you can.
Okay.
Yep. That's the good stuff, right? If you're always asking the same question about the same data and it's expensive to ask that question, well, here's your solution, right? That's the idea.
Okay, Jesse.
All right. Oh, well, I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. The next one is, if an item in a doc set changes such that the doc no longer fits the original search criteria, does the doc remove itself from the set automatically?
No. No. The results set, they're not refreshable, at least at this point. If that's something people want, they should say so. We know how. We just it was built to be contained in 1201. We had to build a static result set. The idea of the name result set is it's static and it stays around, you know, basically for a day or however long it's valid. You would specify that in the expiration date. But no, it does not refresh. So you'll find sets, documents that go away and no longer fit the found set. That's true. But what you can do is include in DQL, you can include logic that eliminates them, right? So anyway.
I guess the follow-on question from Greg was, when you reference the name result set, is there a way to test that it's expired and needs to be recreated?
I mentioned in one of the slides an updall syntax for doing that.
So it would be a updall call.
Updall call.
Okay, not program.
It's a good question. It's a good question about programmatic, and I'll take that back. I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty sure. Well, updall is the way that I do it. So updall is basically as a report. Yeah.
Okay. Jesse, you want to do the next one?
So this next one was about when you mentioned that 95% of views hadn't been opened in years, and this was, how do you at HCL report when views had last been opened? Right? How did you gather that information?
We don't report it. I'm leaving them there as a diabolical approach I have, which leaving them there is a testament to the work we're doing and saying, really, I create a QRP view that gets thrown away automatically. It's a better thing than the ones you have around. The way to look at them, you can do it. The calls, I'm sure we can get design documents in hand and see the last time it was opened. Certainly the last time it was updated. I think we expose those fields. If not, I'll take that back as something people want. So the idea is that yes, you don't. We throw away the indexes, right? So you know that they expire, they go away. So there's nothing behind the view definition you see in your left-hand trough of your client. Those views don't necessarily have any data behind them. Click on it, they will. You know, you'll open them and rebuild them, okay? But they get tossed, and so all you have is these definitions sitting out there you haven't used. So yeah, okay. I don't know programmatically how to get those. I'm sure I know there's a field. I'm not sure what it is.
I think this is kind of the answer, obvious yes, but just searching multiple, well, the first one is, can you search databases from multiple servers? I don't think you directly addressed that.
You can search a remote database. Yeah, you can, but you can't, what you cannot do is create a QRP remotely. Okay, so the QRP has to be local, but then it can branch out to any server.
Okay. Yep. And then there was a same person asked about searching documents in all 4 databases. Well, you demonstrated that, so I think that's kind of covered.
Thing, yeah. Yep, I've done it.
There's a question, are QRP views accessible like regular views? I'm not quite sure exactly what they mean, because you did show it in the notes client. Maybe they mean programmatically, if you could do like a get view or something like that.
Right, well, so the reader list on the view level keeps you from seeing things you shouldn't. So you can specify a reader list that keeps people out that you don't want to see the view. If you have privileges, it's still a hidden view. Okay, so people know it's shift control when you open the database, or do the go to with shift control, it'll find the hidden views. Right, the hidden.
The hidden, right?
But once you're there, it's like any other view. That's right.
But can you, then use like get view on, the database method get view to get a handle to the view?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll work. Yeah. Again, there are some things like the node IDs. You can't use the node IDs to search anything because they're fake. You have to use the actual, because they come from different places. We cannot map a node ID in the source database to an entry in a QRP view. Can't happen.
Okay, Jesse, you want to do the next one?
Yes, so the next question is, does QueryResultsProcessor, or I guess this would probably be DQL, search through attached files too?
Attached files? Oh, you mean attachments?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's full text. In fact, I've done, it's the name of the field is @file. You can actually look in the field and find attachments. Yep, works fine. I've done it.
Okay. Where'd we go? We got, okay, can you style the QRP views and add actions and things that you do to a normal view?
Can you do what? I'm sorry.
Style them. In other words, make
okay, that's
older.
Yeah, not yet. We're working on that for 1202, basically specifying a kind of template, a view with the cat came in the room, the QRP, a view from which you base your results and pull in the style, pull in the design, and do all the QRP processing against it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sorry.
Jesse?
A feline concert in the background here, sorry.
I hear that.
I've had the same. The next question, other than for Java QRP or Lotus script, currently is only, sorry, I need to parse this. Other than for Java QRP for Lotus script currently is only running on local databases, but not on databases stored on the server. Will this change in the near future?
Well, you can run, I mean, you can open a, it has to, so the QRP processing has to run locally, wherever it is. It can be a server. So you can write an agent that creates a QRP on the server, all right? You can do it there. But if you're going to run it on the client, I think I forget the call, but it runs in the background essentially on the server. Okay, execute on server. I forget the name of the call. Jim Cooper I need to talk to him what that is. I forget. There's a way to do that. There's a point. But yeah, if you're writing code that runs on the client, the QRP must run on a local database. Yes. And the reason I mentioned before is because of the immense amount of data that has to get transferred.
Okay, can QRP views be used as an embedded view on the form? So you have the capability to have a view embedded in the form. Can you reference a QRP view,
right?
Like you do a regular view? Right.
So every time I talk, there's someone who gets the award that stumped me. That one gets the award. I'm not sure.
It's a good question, though.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see a use case for that.
It's a real good question. Thank you. Let me know. Let me know. Anyway, I'm not just being a wise guy.
Jesse, you want to do the next one on profile?
Yeah, so the next one is about the implications of profile documents versus named documents. So profile documents are kept in memory. Are named documents also kept in memory the same way? If not, what is the performance difference between fetching a profile document versus a named document?
Right. So memory is a funny word because memory, physical memory, yes, they're both kept in memory. Okay. The idea is a named document. However, we use the buffer pool, so it's susceptible to being paged out. But so everything is the paging can eliminate things from memory anytime. What it doesn't do, we don't keep the profile document cache. But I mean, the benefit of doing that is the namespace problem, that we have these multiple per thread instances of your profile document. We don't need those anymore. So this is the idea. If we don't need the per thread iterations, we'll just keep a central copy and make the buffer pool do the legwork of keeping it in memory, right? So the performance implications, we don't foresee any, but of course, the buffer pool is susceptible, like everything else, to being paged out and to starvation, that kind of thing.
Okay, I think the answer is yes to this one, since it's a document collection, but can you take the documents in the QRP and go through it programmatically, like one by one, or different?
Yeah. Yes, you can. And you traverse the view like any other view. You just get next entry, and you have to get those fields. The last two fields. I document, there are two fields: the path to the database and the node ID. Use those things to get the actual data. Excuse me.
To go to the actual document.
The actual document, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And
cannot use. I said to finish. You cannot use a node ID from the query, the view entry. Make sure you know that. That's a manufactured thing. We had to do that way.
Okay, I guess the next one's just a more of a comment. It would be nice to have some way to do some replication of the QRP views in a server cluster.
Okay.
So that way they're always in sync.
Yeah, we can try that. Yeah, I mean, visit your local AHA repository. We're looking very carefully at the AHA requests as they come in. It's certainly feasible. It's just data, right? Right now, it's kind of in the same class as having them refreshed. But so what? Yeah.
Okay, Jesse, do you want to get the next one?
Yeah, so the next question is, when you're modifying the structure of a QRP view in Designer, is there some sort of warning letting you know this is a generated view and not something you necessarily want to modify?
No, we make sure we make it as hard as possible. No, we don't. No, there is not. I'm sorry. There's no warning. Just the answer is don't do it. It's hidden anyway. So the hidden view, don't do it. It is, yes, if you have a problem with that, report it as a designer thing. We can certainly add a warning in the designer for that, but we do not now. So yeah. On the other hand, the whole idea of QRPs is you can replace them, that they're throwaway, right? So whatever, I'm not going to belabor that.
In the security for the views, can you put groups or roles?
Yes. Yes. Well, groups, hold on. Groups you can, roles, because, if you define the role on the source data, on the host database, you can. Roles are funny because they go with the database, right? So you can't.
So the role would have to be on the database holding the QRP view.
Exactly. That you can do. But groups.
Okay. Jesse, you got the next one?
Yeah, so the next one is, it seems that forms are saved within the generated documents. Is there a way to not save the form in order to reduce document size?
I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure I understand the question. Save a form? Forms are design elements.
I'm not sure. I mean,
I think what he's assuming is that when you double click on the document and it opens up in a new tab, he's assuming that the form was saved in the document, which is a feature that probably no one hardly uses in the Notes client. So I think, John, you're saying that it's not done that way.
It's not that way. We basically do a node open and whatever form that remote database. Again, this is one of the source databases, right? Whatever form created that document will be the one used. Like any other open, as if you were in a regular view. Right. And that, yep.
Yeah, I think the person asking the question was assuming that you were using the save form feature, which you're not.
Right.
Okay, let's see, that next one's a repeat. You mentioned there's a database limit of 500 per database, 50 megabytes in total stored size. Does that affect the searching or just the results?
Results.
Results, okay.
Yep.
Then we have another repeat. Jesse, do you have any that we haven't covered yet? I think all the other ones we covered.
Yeah, I think this one was covered. It was the are the views visible in Designer, and yes with parentheses.
They are.
So,
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's all of them.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, thanks. We're right on time. So, John, thank you so much for presenting. That was a great presentation, a lot of cool stuff. And I'd like to also thank Jesse and Graham, who had to step out early for something else, and Roberto for being my co-host today. Please join us next month, March 17th, when we have Heather talking about the admin tool. And so everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you later.